Yeah.
And welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here. My name is Marvin Coleman, and you are looking at Inkwell Pictures and Inkwell Studios. I'd like to thank you guys for coming out and joining us right now because we are making sure that we take care of you. That's right. Usually we do an acting class on a Tuesday and a Thursday evening right here at the Inkwell Center in Tampa, Florida. But what we're doing right now, because of social distancing, is that we're moving all of that stuff online. So that's right. You get an opportunity to see some of the things that we're doing right in our acting class to sharpen up and make our actors better. Now, just to break it down to you for a little bit, we have an acting platform that we've created right here at Inkwell. And it comes from 3 forms, and it's called Think, Feel, Act. All right? We recognize that thinking and feelings and the actual action that carries out from those are all separate realms of human processing. And it is the best way to help you develop a character as an actor. Because if you can get behind what that character is thinking in association with what they're feeling, then the action that is displayed out of that will be a little bit more true to life. And that's what your job as an actor is, to bring a character that's true to life. So we're going to talk about that a little bit and give you also some demonstrations. I have a few of our actors here who will be involved in some of the improv that we're going to do for the night, and that'll give you an opportunity to really have a solid illustration of what we're talking about. And again, that's think, feel, and act. Now, the other piece of the platform focuses around being able to develop a character through depth of emotion. Right? We can all go through a depth of emotion and look at what emotions are, but a good majority of us focus on just a core base emotions, especially when it comes down to acting. So in acting, if someone said, hey, I want you to play angry, a lot of times it's the yelling and it's throwing things and it's this outward expression and loud voice as far as in anger. Or if someone said, hey, play happy, then you have the smiling and the interaction with another person that seems a little bit more positive, and that might be happy. And a few other things that may fall into that core common emotion. Happy, mad, sad, things like that. So what we try and do is to help you understand that those core emotions also have exterior emotions that break into the base that create character. So for example, if I were to say, hey, I want you to get up here, the scene is the fact that you got into a car accident and you're angry about it, most people could play angry, and a good majority of people, probably 80%, would play it exactly the same way. But if I said, actually, you're not angry, you're irritated, how would you act out that behind irritation? Well, one, you have to think about what are the things that an actor would have to think about. The person who's irritated, what do they think about in being irritated? The next thing you have to look at is what type of feelings come out of irritation. And then the third, what does an irritated person look like? What do they do? What are some of the mannerisms? What do you do when you're really irritated? Those are the things that are going to help you to really pull off the character. And once you can understand that anger and irritation are interrelated and help you to see how it expands out into this feeling wheel, you'll develop the depth that you'll need to be able to be a solid actor, be able to create on the fly as well as inside of a scene. Build someone who's committed to the role, someone who's committed to the scene and the characters, and have a great time doing it. So, what I'd like to do is to bring up a couple of our actors and place them in scenes, different scenarios, and have them walk through the aspect of relating the feelings directly to you. And then what we're going to do in wrapping up here this evening is we are going to actually walk through the auspice of monologuing and how to do a best monologue. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop to a scene really, really quick. I'm going to set that scene up. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what the scene actually is, and then we're going to let our actors do the work and go to it. Again, if you have questions, if you have comments, if you're really digging this like this, please share it. But also, send us those questions, send us those comments, place them in the feed there. If I can answer those live for you tonight, I'd love to do that. But if not, we're definitely going to answer those for you at the next session that we have, which is going to be every single Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. We'll be working through these sessions here for Think, Feel, Act. So if you do have questions or comments, please drop those in the live feed information so we can get those answered for you. Deal? Wonderful. Now, let's go ahead and set up the first scene, and I'll be right back in just a second as I start to situate things a bit here, and we'll run you through the first scene of Think, Feel, Act. Thanks for joining us here tonight. Now, I'm going to do a little placement, and of course for the camera, there's a situation or situations that we have here where we want to make sure that we're showing the actors in the best light. The first scene that we're going to set up is a table scene, okay? And that table scene is going to be set in a restaurant setting. And in that restaurant setting, we have two characters who are going to be meeting, relaying an actual emotion based on the circumstance in the scene, all right? So when it comes down to Think, Feel, Act, they look at those few things. For one, they're looking at what is the circumstance that this person is in, this actor, this character is in. What's the circumstance? The next piece of it that we look at is what are they feeling about that circumstance, or what are they thinking about that circumstance? And then finally, we're looking at how does that play out in action, okay? So, for example, if I give you the circumstance and I say the circumstance is that you got your $1,200 stimulus check, all right? That is it. You got it in the mail, and that's the circumstance, all right? And I say, and I give you the feeling, I say, and you are angry about it. Then the question becomes, what are you thinking? What are the reasons why you're angry about getting that stimulus check? Well, some of the reasons might be, man, I got the stimulus check, but it arrived home before I got there, so my wife knows I got it, right? Or so I'm angry about it. Or it might be the fact that I was expecting it to be a certain amount, but my student loans kicked in and it was actually a little bit less, right? It could be any number of things that are associated with that circumstance that creates that anger and the thinking behind that. And then once those two things come together, then it's really about how does that thinking and how does that feeling play out in action? How does the character really bring all of those things together to display something in action that's genuine, that's real, and most of all, that's convincing. So we're going to talk about that as we set this up a little bit. I'm going to bring my actors on to the first scene, which is going to be a restaurant scene. We're going to set them up in the restaurant scene. I will give them the actual circumstance and the feeling, and then we'll see how they pull that off through the thinking and the actual action of this particular scene. So we're going to set it up. We'll be right back. Hope you're enjoying it so far. Please keep your comments, your questions, and everything coming. Thanks again. Yeah.
I think it's approximately entire. No, the top part of the picture.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So first of all, we're in the restaurant scene. We hope you like it. What I want to set up first is we were talking a little bit about anger and what that really looked like, and anger as being a base emotion. So we're going to set that up. We're going to continue that going in the confines of our Think, Feel, Act exercise today. And we're going to look at anger, okay? So we're going to have these two couples here. We have Sydric and Felicia here, our couple, who are going to be here in this restaurant, but there's an anger piece that's going to come down to it. So I'm going to give you the circumstance and the feeling. We've already said what that feeling is. The feeling is anger. The circumstance is this. The circumstance is that Felicia always arrives late to everything. And this was no difference. Sydric had been sitting here for a very, very long time, maybe somewhere in essence of about 15, 20 minutes before Felicia even showed up. And that is why there is anger here at this particular table. I gave you that, I'm giving you the circumstance, I'm giving you the feeling. Now it's up to them to pull together what's the thinking behind it and pull that off into action. So we're gonna look for the action. I'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about the thinking behind it. Let's make it happen.
No, I didn't order.
Why did you order?
You know, can you just for once show up on time?
Wow.
I mean, what the hell am I going to order for? I don't know what you want to eat. I don't know what you have a taste for today.
We're not doing that right now. Stop.
You know, every time we plan to meet somewhere, I may as well just show up late myself because you never, ever show up on time. What's the problem?
Are we doing this here? Like, are we really doing this here? Are we doing this? Look, the day was long. It's been long for me too. Not today. Not today.
You know,
Not today.
I am just really,
Not right
really
here, we're not.
frustrated.
No,
and
we're not doing
I'm
that right
tired
here.
of dealing
No,
with
we're not doing that right here. I told you, all these people sitting around looking at us.
Let them look.
We're not doing that today.
So I guess
I'm tired. I am tired of you trying to tell me what I need to do. I need to work today. Did you ask me about work?
To me, it was your idea.
But I
You
had to
want to tell me
work
what time to be here. You can't be here on time.
You couldn't get here and order something? Yeah, you
You know
could have
what?
got a drink or something.
I've had two.
I'm sitting
I've
here.
had 2 drinks already.
Damn, okay, get a third. What's your point?
When are you going to understand?
Understand
Get
what?
here on time.
Listen, order a drink. You see all these people sit, chill, enjoy the moment. What we doing all this for? We in public. Shit.
Wow. Now that was an angry, angry session. And they're great people as well, so give them a hand so far. I know out there in La La Land. Listen, and that is how it works. So I want to talk to the actors a little bit about what their translation was for anger. And the thing is, when I threw it out here to the table, I gave the scenario that would appear as though Sydric was the one who would be angry, but also Felicia had to go there as well too. So she had to feed off of what Sydric was giving her in order to get to that particular place of anger. So they did a wonderful job. Let's talk about that just a little bit. As actors, how was that? What was the thinking that you had behind the circumstance and the feeling that you were given in order to really be able to pull this scene off?
Well, it couldn't be a one-time thing that she was late in order for me to be angry. You know, it's got to be a continuous thing where she's always late in order for me to get this angry. You know, so I kind of put that in place.
So your thinking was the fact that this is not a first-time scenario. She's always late, almost like the last straw.
Yes.
Now, the great thing about what Sydric has just said in this demonstration is the fact that there's a backstory, a part of the thinking that Sydric has created in order to get himself to the feelings. As an actor, you should be creating a backstory that goes along with what's happening on scene in that particular script to help you as well too. Sometimes that backstory will be associated with personal things that you've been to and through and things that you can relate to. Sometimes it might be things that other people that are close to you have been through and that you can relate to. Or sometimes it might just simply be you're a good enough actor to go there. So, did a great job there. Let's talk to Felicia a little bit about how she made that transition to anger.
Well, originally I thought, okay, he's the angry one. I'll just take off. But then something made me just feel like you're annoying me. And then from there, I just reacted to him. So as he got angry, I got mad because now you embarrassing me. So now I'm angry. And so maybe you embarrass me in public all the time.
Now that's a great point as well too, and this is the other thing as actors that you really should look at. Is one thing to look at monologuing where it's just you, and that's something that we're going to talk about just a little bit later. But the most important piece about acting in scene with another person is that you have to go with what they're giving you. it's not worth it to be the greatest actor in the room, and so now you're gonna monologue, you know all your lines, you know your role, but when it comes down to relating to that character that's sitting next to you, you can't do it. You have to be able to place yourself in the scene and take what that actor is giving you in order to be able to give it back, reflect it back to where you're being effective. That was a great angry scene. Give them a hand again. I think yeah. So we're gonna keep it to the same vein. I'm gonna let them get up and take a little bit of a break. We're gonna reset the scene and we're gonna bring it right back because I want to keep in the vein of anger and where that is, but we're just gonna put them in a different scenario, different circumstance. Come back in just a second and we're gonna display out the next piece of Think, Feel, Act. Thank you so much for joining us so far. Again, if you have comments or even questions, feel free to hit us up. We'll do our best to answer those. We'll be right back in just a second. Do not go anywhere. Woo!
Courtroom scene, what we do once you set it up?
I'll give them depth of detail when you're setting the scene. All right, hey, we're back. Did you miss me, right? Listen, so now we're gonna move into our next scene, and this next scene is gonna be a courtroom scene. Now, when you see it, I know a lot of you out there have been in court before, and it may have stirred up some emotions for you, in particular, a little bit of anger. So we are going to set this court scene up, and they're gonna fall into the same scenario, but what we're looking for is depth. There are many different ways that you can play angry, so I'm gonna give them the circumstance, I'm gonna give them the feeling, which is anger again, and then it's up to them as the actors to pull off the rest of it in regard to thinking, combined with that feeling, and acting. So, without further ado, let's get the courtroom going. I wish I could like just snap and be at a particular place just like that, like boom, in there, right? So, we got the courtroom set up. The scenario is this. We have our two actors. They're in court currently right now. And basically what has happened is they are just newly walking into the courtroom dealing with, yes, a divorce. They're going in, dealing with a divorce. They haven't settled up on anything at this particular point. They haven't even signed the paperwork because Sydric refuses to sign the paperwork. That's right. He does not want to sign. He feels like, hey, there's a chance for my marriage, the whole piece of it. And that brings forth some anger in Felicia right now. So keep watching it for just a little bit. We're going to bring them on to set this up. Again, what you as the audience are watching for is you're watching for how they're displaying anger. Are they doing it in the typical way? Or are they doing it a little bit differently? You're looking at, can I see the thinking of where this character is as they're displaying this anger? And is it playing out real to life, true to form in the actions that they're doing right here in this particular scene? So without further ado, let's bring them on. Thank you so much for joining us here, Inkwell Pictures and Inkwell Center.
You're gonna sign the papers today, right? Are you going to sign the papers today, right?
No, I'm not.
Seriously?
No. Not until you agree on the things that I want.
What?
Well, for one, I bust my ass off to get us this house. So I'm
Okay.
not giving away my house.
Isn't that what a man does? I mean, isn't that what you do?
Yeah, for your wife. You're no longer going to be that. So
But you
why
got
am
kids? So what, you want your kids outside?
They can stay with me too.
Wow.
I can raise them just as well as you can.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So I should have listened. I should have listened to my mom.
My lawyer's taking
I
too
should
damn
have
long to get
listened
here.
to my mama. I promise I should have listened to her.
Why would you listen? Your mama divorced.
No.
She can't keep a damn man. What the hell can she tell you?
Okay, about that. Okay. So now you're talking about my
And maybe you have listened to her. The reason why we're here
mama.
now. That's the reason why we're here now, because you listen to your mama.
Okay. So what about your little girlfriend? I was supposed to be okay with that too?
Told you that was an accident.
Oh, okay. Accidents. That's why we're here. And you shouldn't have had the damn baby. I mean, some people. I mean, really.
Look.
Is that what we do?
Look, we're
So-
here. Look, we are here
Okay.
because of things that we both have done.
What time
Said
is
and
it supposed
done.
to start?
So let's just
Do you even know that?
agree to
Do
the
you
things
know
that I want.
You know what time
I'll
it starts?
sign these papers. You can go ahead and move on with your life.
Oh, you signed
With
it.
whatever broke ass cat you're gonna be
You
without.
signing that? Okay.
Long as you, hey, like I say, I worked too hard to get this stuff.
You
I'm
flip
not
flop.
gonna just
You
give you
flip
this
flop.
stuff.
We walked in here. You said you weren't. Now you said you
I
weren't.
said
So what is it?
until you signed up, agree to what I want.
I ain't agreeing to nothing. You won't.
We're at a standstill.
I'm not agreeing to
Damn, it's like
nothing.
goddamn long. What's taking you so long? to
I
do
asked
this?
you what time should we be here. You just can't do nothing right. God, man.
Right, cut for just a second. They're not going to move just yet because we're going to reset it just a little bit. I know that you're liking it, you're getting it so far. But what I want to do is I want to put in a little bit of a directorial cue in the mix so that we can let it go. So this directorial cue is to Felicia. Felicia refers to Sydric in this moment, and she's addressing the fact that he has lied to her. But you've lied to me. You lied to me about so many things. That's where she goes with it. And Sydric, of course, in this moment, again, we're talking about angry, and I have to find out angry. Sydric responds to that in an angry way. Let's go.
You always lying.
I haven't fucking lied to you.
You always lying.
No, I don't.
You always lying.
I have not lied to
That's
you.
why we here.
I have not lied to you.
That's why we here.
You know what? This is so fucking stupid. I have not lied to you.
You lying. Every time you open your damn mouth, you lying.
Name me something. Name me something I lied to you about.
You lied.
You make this shit up in your head.
Oh.
It's not true.
So
Not
the baby ain't yours? Gosh.
That's a ledge.
That's a lie.
That's a ledge.
Oh, because you ain't asked the helper for a dang DNA test. Is that what it is? Yeah, okay. Oh, lying ass.
And cut. Don't you feel the emotion currently just looming right now? Now, some of you might be sitting here saying, Felicia seems like she's always mad about something. But it's not true. It's not true. This is all a part of the acting. And some people might say, well, Sydric, man, I mean, you was a little tight about her being late, and then now we find out all this. Trust me, it's two separate scenes, two separate venues is what we're talking about, two separate characters. But the last piece that I want to challenge both of them to in this scene is playing the angry piece a little different. You're in a courtroom, you're sitting here getting ready to go in and enter in. You know what sometimes anger is not the big yelling and screaming. Sometimes it's some different things. So I'm going to challenge the actors to move into that direction right now. We'll talk about it on the back end. So here we go.
Did you contact your lawyer?
Why are you worried about me?
Or are they coming?
My lawyer's coming. Why are you worried about my lawyer? He's my lawyer, not yours. Where's your lawyer?
She said if your lawyer just comes and you just sign the paper, then I'll be all right.
You know,
Right?
you know,
I mean,
this,
that's what I
the thing.
thought.
All I need for you to do is agree to let me have my house,
Uh-huh.
and I can sign this paper.
Uh-huh.
We don't even need
Mhm.
any lawyers right now.
Mhm.
Honestly. we
Yeah,
don't.
sure. Yeah.
No.
I'm not believing those lies. I believe all the other lies. What's I believe this lie? Every time
I
you
have
talk,
not
you're lying.
lied
You
to
are
you.
lying.
I haven't lied to you, okay?
Every time you
Just
talk,
stop.
you do that thing with your eye every time. And I know you lying.
Oh,
that's
God.
That's the problem right there. It's always lying, always lying.
Boy, I should have listened to my mom.
You should have listened to your mom.
I want to see right through all
Because
this.
your mama got 5 different baby daddies too. So she supports that.
That's not. That's
Okay.
my mom you're talking
God,
about.
it's your
That's my
mama.
mama.
Your sorry behind mama.
Don't play now. This mama you're talking about.
You know I really loved you.
Bullshit.
I
You
do.
don't love me. You
Yeah.
don't love me. You
I
never
love you.
love me. Look.
And I'm going to love you when I get to have that every time, too.
You ain't getting shit.
Yeah.
Trust me on that.
They're in the pockets now. I can feel the anger falling over the love. Can you feel it? Absolutely. Let's go with one last piece. And this is a piece oftentimes that I see the female characters play out really well. And it's that anger to where you're wondering as what I do in my in the right place at the right time. We want to look at quiet anger, all right? This quiet anger. So basically that quiet anger has to be prompted by Sydric's character in regard to questions and engagement, and then of course given back to him, as we said earlier, given back to him in that silent anger. So look at that, and then we'll move to the monologues.
So you still don't have nothing to say. That's so typical. Really? So you just gonna stand here like I'm not talking to you? Is that what you're doing? I get it. I get it. So, for real? Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. Every time you look at me like that, I just know. Can you come here? Come real close, because I know you hear me. I know you hear me. You better. Hey, it's our last chance. It's the last chance. For real? Okay. All right.
Right, there it is. That silent anger. A lot of times in order to display something, especially if it's a silence and a silent anger, you have to do something physically in order to pull it off. As you can see, Sydric with the shoulders back and the wrist folded, kind of penitently standing there, and even a little bit of a rock to it, shows off almost like he's ticking time away until it's over, until it stops. Or maybe he's building, seething, boiling. It's getting quicker because he's getting angrier, or all ways to pull off that silent anger that just kind of bubbles to the top and relates into the scene and the circumstance that's going on right now. Thank you guys. Give them a hand. They did a wonderful job with it. Hopefully they won't have to really be in the courtroom at this particular point. So thank you guys again. And we're going to move into monologue, so we'll just go ahead and have them step off for just a second. We've got a real treat for you guys when it comes down to monologuing. And monologuing is a little different, okay? Some people look at monologuing as just more of delivering a speech. But the reality is, monologuing is actually acting. When you are doing a monologue, the worst thing you can do is stand up there and rattle off the words and not have the relation of the emotions or even the hand gestures that you're supposed to have and the other things that relate when it comes down to acting. Monologuing is acting, and therefore you want to have certain things together. So for example, if you're monologuing and you're referring to another character, why not point to the other character, or why not refer to the other character? If you're monologuing and you're angry and you're really like angry and you have to be vocal and physical with your anger, why not do that? Why not display the different inflections in your voice to demonstrate the changes between the emotions that you're displaying? All of those things are very important parts of the monologuing. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Felicia come up and deliver a monologue. She's going to deliver that monologue, one that she's been working on, that she has learned, and I want you as the audience to look at how it is delivered. Now again, everything that we do here in Think, Feel, Act is an opportunity for us to learn and to grow. We won't always do everything right, we won't always interpret it pristinely, but as an actor, you're always growing. You're always learning, you're always developing in characters. That's just how it happens. So be willing to stretch yourself and be willing to go to a particular place in acting that you haven't gone to before, because that's the level of growth that you need to constantly display as an actor. So without further ado, we're going to have Felicia Bell come up and deliver this particular monologue, and I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you again. We'll be back to talk on the flip side.
I wanted you to die during the war. No, I really did. I mean, not die. It'd been terrible had you died. I just wanted you to kind of not be alive anymore. I couldn't bear the thought of your being with someone else. Us not being together. I'm so confused. For 7 years, no matter what I did, I couldn't get you off my mind. Then I met mine, and he's such a great guy. I told him I'd marry him. I really love him. And I see this picture of you in the paper. I just knew that I couldn't marry him until I saw you again. I mean, we did have some things that weren't finished, right? So now I sit here with these adolescent feelings. You tell me, what do I do? Do I just crawl up under a rock and stay here for the rest of life? Do I say to hell with everything? You tell me, what do I do?
That was a great monologue, great display of that. That came from the movie The Notebook, actually. And one of the things that I want to talk about in regard to the monologues and the way that they're delivered is the range of the different emotion that the characters go through. In monologuing, they can hit several different plateaus and places in the emotion. And as a monologuer, being a person who's delivering the monologue, you want to make sure that you're able to have a clearly defined place in those pieces of emotion. You may start off as a happy or welcoming, and if it moves to a point of anger or sadness, there should be a clear delineation between the two. Sometimes that's going to be in your motion and where you move. Or example, if I were to take a step back in a situation, what would be the emotion that relates to that stepping back? That's what we're talking about. And those are all things that should be present in your monologues. There's a way to help you deliver it. Again, there's a thinking, there's a feeling, and then there's the action. That is related in acting. It's no different than monologuing. In monologuing, there's a thinking that the actor and the character has. There's an emotion that they're locking into at various different points based on the circumstance of the monologue. And then there's how does that play out in physical action. So, I hope that this has helped you guys tonight. I really do. I look forward to reading your comments and your questions. And as we start to ramp things up, again, we're going to do this every single Tuesday. But as we start to ramp these things up and get more people kind of back involved, there may be an opportunity for, yes, you to even get involved in some of our smaller piece, think, feel, act exercises, as well as our monologue. So I hope that you really enjoyed it this evening. It was really fun delivering it this way. I think we'll be able to do this in an expanded version a couple of times from this. So that's all I have for this evening. I really thank you guys for joining us here. Again, send your comments, send your questions. contact us here at Inkwell Pictures. We've got wonderful projects that we're working on currently right now. A lot of different web series and film things that we're writing, getting ready to ramp up once this coronavirus pandemic scales down a bit. So we want you to be a part of it. We do an acting class as well on Tuesday and Thursday nights that will hopefully kick back up sometime in June or July when this thing kind of lightens up. But we'd love to see you there as well too. So, had a great time tonight. I hope that you did as well. Hope that you learned something. Think, feel, act. That's the way to translate the characters through. And I hope that you enjoyed yourself. You guys stay safe and take care of each other until I see you next time. Thank you again.